You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, first responders from around the area come to pay their respects to a fallen comrade. We're looking at a Good Friday morning, but I tell you what, we've got cold on the way to the point where we're going to talk about freeze watches in effect from the Skywatch Weather Center. One of the last living members of the Tuskegee Airmen was honored in Dallas on Veterans Day. We'll have that story and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A Gravette, Arkansas woman is dead after a crash in southwest Missouri. The Highway Patrol says Robin Ford drove off the road on Interstate 49 west of Neosho and hit an embankment. Ford died at the scene. No other cars were involved. Newton County man accused of shooting at deputies pleads guilty. Benjamin Ivy pleaded guilty to unlawful possession of a firearm. 2 other charges were dropped as part of the plea deal. Ivy is sentenced to 7 years in prison. 5 Oklahoma Republican state lawmakers want Governor Kevin Stitt to grant clemency to Julius Jones, who is scheduled for execution next week. Among the 5 are 2 state house members representing the Oklahoma City suburb where Paul Howell was shot to death during a 1999 carjacking. Jones was convicted of Howell's killing and sentenced to death, but he has long maintained his innocence. Jones alleges he was framed by his co-defendant, who testified against Jones and served 15 years in prison. The Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board voted 3-1 to recommend that Stitt commute Jones's sentence to life in prison. 4 state first responders came together in Baxter Springs yesterday to honor one of their own, following the passing of Baxter Springs firefighter Malachi Brown. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to the Baxter Springs fire chief and has more.
On Wednesday night, Baxter Springs firefighter Malachi Brown succumbed to the injuries he received battling a mid-October structure fire. On Thursday, representatives from multiple 4 state first responders formed a procession at a burn unit in Springfield to bring Brown back to Baxter Springs, and they had a lot of support along the way.
I want to thank all the agencies that helped us get him home. It was a long trip from Springfield, and all the way from Springfield all the way to Baxter Springs, we had agencies on overpasses with flags standing on the side of the road supporting us.
Brown was brought back to the Derfelt Funeral Home's Baxter Chapel, where friends, family, fellow firefighters, and first responders gathered to say goodbye to a man who sacrificed his life protecting the community he loved.
I'd like to thank all the communities around to help and support us, and I'd like to thank the family and everybody in the community. Please say a prayer tonight for his family and his children.
In Baxter Springs, Kansas, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Baxter Springs Fire Lieutenant Malachi Brown leaves behind a wife and 3 children. For the first time ever, the iconic Rockefeller Center Christmas tree will come from the state of Maryland. It was cut down yesterday after it was carefully wrapped and inspected and gingerly loaded onto a flatbed for its 145-mile journey from just over Delaware's western border to the Rockefeller Center, which it reached on Saturday. The 80-year-old 79-foot-tall Christmas tree weighs nearly 12 tons. Wow. After its trek, the tree will be dressed with more than 50,000 LED lights and topped with a swirl.
Yes, there it is.
Oh, that's your
That's
crystal.
the word.
I should let you say it, Michael.
That's the word. Swarovski.
There you go, Swarovski. I've never had to say that.
Oh my gosh.
Crystal.
Like, yeah, I'm wet palms
That'll be
right
the
now
star.
when I saw it pop up on the prompter.
Swarovski. Crystal.
Swarovski. I hate it. Hate that word. Now imagine doing a story that also has the word jewelry in it, and like you could just tell them a complete meltdown on air. You can just like see the sweat begin to pour off my forehead when you've got jewelry and Swarovski
Was
in
there
the
a
same
burglar
story.
involved?
I'm sorry?
Burglary involved in it?
I'm good with that one. Those are just the
Another
two.
word that rolls like jewelry.
Goes back to my Fox 14 days. It was I think it was like in the prompter 8 times, and I said it 8 different ways.
You know, Michael, I'm pretty sure you produced your own Fox show, so that was done to yourself. You know that, right?
You bring up an excellent point right there, because somebody was confident and walked out with an air of ego about him and said, oh, I can see this. And then I just went, yeah, I was so bad at it.
Basically saying he didn't cold read it, he planned it.
No, I didn't cold read it. I knew it was in there. And that's why it's always been a fear of mine. So folks, if you ever approach me on the street and you if you just want to watch me melt into a puddle, be like, Michael, what's the name of that famous crystal called?
What is it again? It's a
I don't want to say it. I'm bad. Tell you what, our Friday morning is as beautiful as a Swarovski crystal.
Ooh.
It is gorgeous outside. It's cold though, because the wind's working in from the north-northwest. 39 degrees are our low points right now in Iola Yates Center and Neodesha. Joplin sits at 43 along with Carthage and Lamar. Miami at 45 and Pittsburgh at 42. We're done with our morning rain as everything has moved down to the southeast off of I-44. Accumulation numbers overnight, a quarter of an inch was the most that we saw, and certainly no storm reports as it was extremely light compared to what we had Wednesday night into Thursday morning. The weather trend for today, while we'll have a whole lot of sunshine, it's going to be chilly because our temperatures are going to just kind of remain up into the high 40s. And then overnight, watch where this goes. Straight down is the answer as we dip below the freezing point for Friday night into Saturday morning. For those of you out and about tonight, especially those of you taking in some high school football activity, make sure you take multiple layers because it's going to be frigid. And that goes for everybody, whether you're staying home like Webb City and Carthage and Lamar are, or whether you're on the road. I know McDonald County, you're headed out to the West Plains area. And then we've got schools like Frontenac and Riverton. And I'm trying to think who else is headed up there. They're headed up about 3 hours north, Tanya, up in the Wamego, Silver Lake area. It doesn't matter where you are. It's going to be below the freezing point.
Bundle up and be prepared.
Yeah. The hand warmers. Are you a hand warmer fan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you take them and you put them at the end of your shoes. Yes. Yeah, that's the best. That is the best.
As long as you have enough space in your shoes. But yeah, they're fun.
Yeah.
And it's always good when you wear under your coat or whatever, if you have a hoodie on there or something with a pocket that connects. And then
yeah.
Double up on your hand warmers with both hands. Ooh. If you're sitting on a bench and you've got blankets on that bench, remember the blankets. Those benches are going to be cold too.
Well, then you take the hand warmers and you put them in your back pockets.
Sit them in.
Yeah.
Stick them in your pants. It's all right. Up next, Emily Frankowski from Connected Culture tells us about some fun family events taking place in the area. But first, kids' vaccinations are ramping up, but other viral threats loom. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. The good news, vaccinations for kids ages 5 to 11 are ramping up. The bad news, kids' COVID cases are ramping up too, and there are serious concerns about vaccine inequity. And there's a risk of measles making a comeback. Brake Conway breaks it all down.
All done with his first COVID-19 vaccine. And he's not the only one. The White House estimates nearly 1 million kids 5 to 11 have gotten their first dose. With about 700,000 pharmacy appointments on the books, 114 children's hospitals and doctors' offices are offering vaccinations too. And there are mobile clinics in some places, along with school clinics. But getting more kids vaccinated is often a battle against hesitancy and sometimes equity. A recent poll shows parents with lower incomes are less likely to get their kids in that 5 to 11 age group vaccinated, with concerns about getting time off work or finding a way to get to a vaccination site, along with educational disparities. Experts say more education generally comes with more acceptance of science. COVID-19 vaccines aren't the only vaccine doctors are worried about, though. The CDC says 22 million babies worldwide missed their vaccinations last year during the pandemic, worsening the global threat of measles. All the while, kids' cases of COVID are on the rise again. The American Academy of Pediatrics says this past week there was a more than 6% increase in cases from the week before. And winter is coming.
This is at its heart a winter virus, and I think that as we head into winter, we will likely see a bump in cases. That's the most likely scenario.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Yes, winter is coming. South Korea showcased a drone airport shuttle yesterday at Gimpo Airport in Seoul, South Korea's transportation ministry demonstrated its future generation flying urban transportation system. Urban air mobility is an eco-friendly air transportation service based on electric flying vehicles. The government expects the air taxi will be able to take off and land vertically and connect with ground transportation. South Korea aims to introduce urban air mobility commercial services in 2025.
Timeout. Is there a pilot behind that?
I think
Right. So
I think it's just like a drone,
like it picks
a drone
me up
taxi
and drops me at my car,
wherever you need to go.
but there's no pilot?
Well, somebody's running it.
No, Marcos is telling me there's a pilot. Well, you said drone, and so that's why I was thinking unmanned.
I don't know. The story had a lot. It repeated itself multiple times. I didn't really understand it, to tell you the truth. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not getting in if there's not a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Be right back after this.
It's just an electric flying vehicle. That's what's new about it.
Oh, okay. Let's go to break.
There you go.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. With the holidays approaching, we've got a slew of live events. We're so fortunate to have wonderful performers here right in our backyard, and so fortunate to have an organization like Connect to Culture that not only supports them, but also brings us wonderful classes, events, ceremonies, and we're going to dive into some of those as we approach the holidays. We're fortunate enough to be joined by Emily Frankowski, our good friend from Connect to Culture. Emily, first off, thank you for your time this morning. Second off, I want to jump right into what's coming up here on November the 20th, because Connect to Culture is going to bring a little music and fun into our lives with what's called Schoolhouse Rock Live.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is coming up fast. So if you want tickets, you better get them. This is a national touring children's theater show that basically is a Schoolhouse Rock reimagined for this generation. So it's all of those really fun short songs that teach you educational topics like counting and spelling and, you know, different grammatical issues. But it makes it fun. And do you remember watching Schoolhouse Rock?
Oh, absolutely.
As a kid?
Absolutely, I do.
So these are well-loved songs, and it's just a really fun, high-energy show. We're really lucky to have them. You know, they travel all over the United States performing. These are professional actors that, you know, are practicing. This is their profession. So we're lucky to have them on November 20th, which is a Saturday. And what's great about this is that we have two show times, 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. So it's really good for kids that have, you know, early bedtimes, and, you know, it's great for grades 1 through 5. That's kind of like the sweet spot, but, you know, kids of all ages are going to enjoy it too.
And once again, that's November 20th. It's up at Joplin High School. Emily, what's the importance of introducing a child that young to theater and performance art? What can that mean for them in the future?
It really just energizes them. In this case, it's, you know, kids are going to go away singing these songs and kind of be tricked into learning really useful information. But also, it's just really great for retention of information. You know, watching something live right in front of you versus watching it on a screen is, you know, there have been studies that say that you do retain more information, and it's just a richer experience. So this would be a wonderful first, you know, live children's theater show for any kid.
And once again, that's November 20th at 4 and 7, 2 performances at Joplin High School. And hey, speaking of that, you know, you could hit up the 4 o'clock performance, or if you want to go to another event on the 20th at 6 and then run over to Joplin High School, because Connect to Culture is also bringing us the Holiday Tree Trail kickoff ceremony. And this is at Mercy Park, right?
Yes, this is, we're almost getting into December, but this is right on the edge. This is the holiday tree trail that they have at Mercy Park every year. This is relatively new. They've only had it for a few years now, but they're kicking it off on Tuesday, November 30th at 6 p.m., but it will be up from then up until, the end of December. And it's just so much fun. They have different organizations and businesses that kind of adopt a tree, and these aren't real trees. They do bring in artificial trees, and they decorate them, and they place them along the Mercy Trail, which is just a wonderful park to walk around in. And the Rotary Sculpture Garden lives there, so you get to it's two for the price of one. You get to go and witness these trees as well as the sculptures. It's just going to be magical and just get you really into the holiday spirit.
And the one thing that I really love about the Holiday Tree Trail is, once again, that's going to be Tuesday, November the 30th, and the ceremony itself from 6 to 8. But the fact that our sun's setting so early that we can get out there at a reasonable time and still take in how beautiful those trees look decorated. This one's free and open to everybody, correct? Correct, yes. You just come and enjoy and take a walk. And the reason that we're able to have great events like this, whether it be the Schoolhouse Rock Live that's on the 20th or the tree lighting ceremony that is on the 30th, it is a large part and thanks to people like Emily Frankowski in Connect to Culture. Hey, I gotta go pay some bills, go to a commercial break, but can I ask you to come back, because there's a tea light glass class, and I have no idea what that means, and I was gonna hope you could explain it to me.
I'll stay right here.
All right, we'll come back and visit more with Emily Frankowski of Connect to Culture. KOAM Morning News, back right after this.
It's time to honor this morning's four-state hero. Ralph Cousins served in the U.S. Navy from 1951 to 1954. The Fort Scott, Kansas native was stationed in Korea. We salute Airman First Class Ralph Cousins, our four-state hero. One of the last living members of the Tuskegee Airmen was honored in North Texas this Veterans Day. Charles McGee was recognized at the commemorative Air Force National Air Base in Dallas. Steve Pickett has his story.
A private flight for a public treasure. Charles McGee, 1 month short of 102 years of age, an American veteran in an era when the nation judged his color, not his character.
To be able to serve with so many people saying I couldn't or shouldn't, but we served our country, and I was doing something I enjoyed, and that was flying.
Before the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II, no black American had ever been a U.S. military pilot.
McGee would be one of a group of firsts, a distinguished Tuskegee Airman, the first African-American military aviators allowed to fight, fly, and defend in the name of the nation during World War II. Close to 8 decades after their first combat assignment allowed for black airmen, Charles McGee is a symbol of a nation's progress, a reminder of the veteran's sacrifice for country. Yet even today, a century of life shows this veteran there is work still ahead.
Just know that there's still those that are not 100% on board with equal access, equal opportunity, and equal recognition for all Americans, not just some. We took advantage, if you will, of the opportunity, and that helped bring about our performance helped bring about a change. The leadership that we had, those that, as I say, served to assure that we took advantage of the opportunity, and things turned out for the better.
In Dallas, Steve Pickett.
Well, thank you for your service. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, what happens when old meets new? Classic cars get electrified. And Nintendo's latest offering lets you beautify the world and get your exercise at the same time. We'll explain. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Four states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. People across the country are honoring our nation's heroes this Veterans Day. McDonald County hosted a Veterans Day ceremony in Pineville. The event featured a free dinner, VIP speakers, and fireworks. There was also a special announcement. Veteran James Tatum was inducted into the Missouri Veterans Hall of Fame. The Carthage native served heroically in the Korean War as an Army officer and later as a civilian helped found Crowder College.
I mean, nothing like this has ever happened. To put it into perspective, General John Gordon, who was a former Secretary of Homeland Security, and the 33rd President, Harry Truman, are also in this Hall of Fame with Jim, so it's a pretty big deal.
McDonald County celebration took place in the Pineville Square. For many communities and organizations, this was the first time in the pandemic area they could hold traditional Veterans Day events. And that was the case at PSU. The university hosted its ceremony for the first time since 2019 with veterans and families in attendance.
It's a special day that we need to remember and take time to appreciate what we have, the sacrifices that soldiers and individuals, both on the civilian side but also in the military, that serve our country on a daily basis, whether domestically or abroad.
This year's keynote speaker was Pittsburgh Fire Chief Dennis Riley, who is a U.S. Army veteran and was at Ground Zero on 9/11. In Fort Scott, the Tourism Board decided to cancel this year's parade, but the American Legion Post 25 was not going to let that happen. The Post took over the parade and yesterday hosted it for area veterans and their families.
No matter where you served and what time you served, you're a veteran of our armed forces, and there's a bond and a fellowship that goes together. It just exists.
The American Legion riders led the parade on their motorcycles. Sheepdog Impact Assistance yesterday broke ground on a new facility that'll help veterans in times of crisis. It's called a Warrior Path facility. PATH meaning progressive and alternative training for healing heroes. When complete, the facility in Pineville, Missouri will help provide tools to help combat veterans and first responders struggling with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and other challenges.
But then to be able to get out and hunt, fish, hike, camp, cave explore, razor ride, four-wheel, archery, labyrinth walk, you name it. Just the blessing of being able to get out and explore the nature and the blessing that is this ranch.
The group also dedicated 2 new buildings on the property named after fallen service members Lance Corporal Anthony Darb and Senior Chief Joseph Engelman. An Oklahoma teen has been breaking records since she was 8 years old. She's already made a name for herself locally. Now she's taking it a step further, making herself known across the country. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has more on the Commerce Powerhouse Princess.
At 118 pounds, 15-year-old Demaya Smith can already deadlift up to 285 pounds. It's how she earned her nickname, the Powerhouse Princess.
I think the name Powerhouse Princess suits me really just because I do like the glam, and even though I'm out on the mat rolling, I still have makeup on. I really like to dress up, so I feel like I'm a powerhouse and a princess. It fits.
Demaya's mom, Chris, always knew there was something special about her.
She's going to be a spitfire at something. We just didn't know what. We started her with traditional sports, gymnastics, basketball, softball, and she just wasn't advancing the way that I thought that she should. And then powerlifting fell into her lap.
Demaya's talents recently landed her a spot on the reality TV show All Round Champion, where she competed alongside other top athletes in a variety of sports.
I happened to get on All Round Champion, and it was a crazy experience. It was so amazing. We did so many different sports, and I was learning like how to fence and play hockey. It was crazy, and I would not change it for the world.
She trains at her parents' gym, Relentless Training Center.
Relentless was a vision that we had for our daughter that was brewing that we really didn't even know where we were taking it. We just knew that we needed to get our daughter the best training possible.
Even after setting world records, Demaya says she's only getting started.
Powerlifting, I'll never stop lifting in general, but I don't think I'll have very many more competitions outside of high school. With MMA, I want to take that as far as I can and hopefully go to the UFC.
In Commerce, Bronte Sorotsky, KUAM News.
Good form on those hurdles. Last night, Relentless Training Center hosted a free women's self-defense seminar that was open to the public. Well, you've got an excuse to raise the cocktail glass a bit early this Friday because it's National Happy Hour Day. Happy hour refers to a time of day bars and restaurants tend to offer food and drinks at a discount. It actually dates back to 1914 when the Navy started it during the Mexican-American War. By the end of the World War II, it had really taken hold in the military, and by 1959, it was common for civilians too. This is funny, Michael, because growing up, my mom was a member of the Happy Hour Club, which had nothing to do with drinking at 5 o'clock or whatever time the happy hours typically are.
Okay, what was it then?
It was a group of ladies that got together and made crafts and sold them as fundraisers for different organizations, good causes and
Well, that's
stuff.
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And they got together for like every one day a week for an hour, and they were the Happy Hour Club.
That's really cool.
But I just assumed it was created and started before the happy hour came about.
I guess
but if the
today
happy hour came about in 1916, I don't think so.
Today, I guess you don't have to do it's 5 o'clock somewhere rationale. Is that what we're saying?
Right.
How many
most
national
happy
days have we-
hours? Most happy hours now are like 4 or 5 hours long. They're not just an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And sometimes they last all night.
Shout out 609, Tony and Travis. Remember back in my day, we used to cut that up pretty good.
The Happy Hour Club also brings back lots of memories of
Doesn't
something.
that defeat the purpose? And number
something
one,
that we'll get to during the commercial break. That happened outside the
days
Happy
have
Hour
we
Club.
already had in November? It's crazy.
I love it. There's a national day for everything.
Scorpio time. Also, too, what good is it if happy hour doesn't last an hour? I thought that was the purpose.
Well, the goal of it is to get them there earlier, and then they felt like, I don't know, we're just going to extend it to keep them there. I don't know.
You know what I'm going to do today? Watch me bring this full circle right here, folks.
Bundle up because it's cold.
No, I'm going to set up for a craft fair.
Oh.
That's what I'm doing on National Happy Hour Day.
And
you were talking
you'll-
about
the
Happy Hour Club.
In the thoughts of my mom's Happy Hour Club.
That's what I'm going to do this afternoon. I'm going to set up for a craft fair. That is a true story. Live look outside of Television City. It is a little bit chilly out there as Joplin sits right now at 43 degrees with a wind chill of only 38. Our temperatures ranging from 38 anywhere to about 43. Now we top out around the noon hour, and it's not going to be extremely warm, but it is going to be extremely nice. Whole bunch of sunshine, highs close to 50 degrees, but overnight, if you have plans, if you're going to partake in happy hour, if you're going out to a high school football game, bundle up. We are dropping below the freezing point for tonight into Saturday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Earlier, we caught up with Emily Frankowski, Emily behind Connect to Culture in Joplin that brings us marvelous events, classes, performances, the whole nine, and art exhibits as well. And through the month of September, Emily, you've got something that really piqued my interest because I love driving through, go back to my sports days, I love driving through small towns and just kind of envisioning how they got there in the first place, who lives there. And I guess that you've actually been able to bring a photography exhibit to us throughout the month of November, kind of displaying these towns.
Yes, this is Missouri Southern State University Spiva Art Gallery is hosting this event, and it's an exhibit from now until the 19th of November. So you need to get over there and take a look at it. It's Point and Periphery, photographs from small Missouri towns by photographer Jimmy Allen. And what he's done is he's gone and captured, I think, over 100 different small towns in Missouri. And so you get to see all of these photographs, and what he's trying to point out is, the identity and the character of these small towns. Some of them are, really revitalizing themselves and investing in the community, while others are not doing as well. And he's really trying to point out those different things within in those cities. And I think that we've all, taken a good road trip through Missouri and can attest to this fact. And so It'll be a really introspective exhibit and just really fun to see all of those different small towns in Missouri.
What kind of gave you the heads up, Connect to Culture and the Spiva Gallery there at Missouri Southern? What kind of gave you the heads up about Jimmy Allen and the way he's able to convey different places through a lens?
Yeah, I think that the Missouri Southern State University, they have a curatorial staff that does research about different artists or might have connections with these artists, the teachers that work there. And so I think that they usually kind of take all of that into their planning for different exhibits that go on. But they've definitely found something special in Jimmy Allen. So you should get over there and take a look.
And the one more thing that I wanted to ask you about before we get out of here, and thank you for your time once again, and because I've been practicing this phrase all morning long in anticipation of this. Tea light glass class. Got it. Now it could be me and a bunch of kids that are 9 and up. That's fine with me because sometimes my artistic level is way below theirs anyway. But what is tea light glass class?
Yeah, so this is happening this Saturday, November 13th. So if you want to attend this, you better, sign up now. But it's going to be a lot of fun with Jane McCauley, who is a renowned glass artist in the area. And basically, a tea light is just a small little light they usually see with a little, what they're called tea lights, just a very short little candle inside. And I love them. I have them all over my house, but I have never made my own. So she will teach you how to work with glass and make your very own, different colors. And she usually fires the work once it's done because they have to heat up the glass to kind of meld the colors together. And then you'll probably come and pick them up later. It's only $35 and you get to learn from a master glass artist and get to take something home and get ready for the holidays.
Well, and Emily, like you said, tea candles, they're just practical and they're beautiful to have around. So how cool would it be to actually have you and the kids, run out there on Saturday? And once again, this is we need to all register now. But by the time, like Emily said, the time the holidays roll around, you can point to something on the shelf and be like, "Hey, me and the kids, we made that together."
It will be a great gift too, and the great part about it's being hosted at Local Color Art Gallery and Studio, and they have over 10 different local artists working there, where you can do some Christmas shopping at the same time.
I like the way you think. Emily Frankowski of Connect to Culture. Emily, it's always great to see you. I can't thank you enough for your time, and I can't thank you enough for what your organization does to bring us not a fair amount of culture, a great deal of culture into our lives. We greatly appreciate you and the organization.
Thank you. We love coming on. Thanks for supporting the arts.
Absolutely. We'll be back with more KOM Morning News right after this.
Electric cars are growing more popular, but some drivers can't bear to part with their old classics. CBS's Ian Lee shows us how one mechanic in London is steering vintage vehicles into the future.
On the surface, they look like any classic cars. You can't see what makes them special, and you can't hear it either.
Smooth and quiet is what electricity does perfectly.
But peek under the hood and you can see how Matthew Quitter converts classic cars into electric rides at his London-based garage.
We have customers from all over the world.
Converting gas guzzlers helps the environment, especially since more than 1 million cars in the UK end up on the scrap heap every year.
Scrapping cars is not a good thing to do. It's sort of fairly well known now that half of a car's lifetime CO2 output is during manufacture.
We took a ride in his electric 1953 Morris Minor.
You become slightly more aware of how stinky a lot of other cars are.
Gearheads might find his conversions sacrilege, but rest assured, the charm remains.
Bit's just fallen off.
a little bit of a classic car issue.
Exactly.
Guy Wilner didn't have a problem swapping motors in his 1969 Land Rover Series 2A. The electric touch didn't disappoint.
Oh, it's brilliant fun. It's brilliant fun. It's absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's a hilarious car.
Converting a car with used parts from crashed electric vehicles can set you back at least 30 grand. But for Matthew, it's not just about the money.
Once they get in the car and it's converted, you get a big EV grin, and that's it. They're never going back.
Leaving gas in the rearview mirror as they drive their converted classics into the 21st century. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Even James Bond is going green. The company Lunez is converting a limited number of 007's classic Aston Martin with electric power. The price tag, about $1 million. We'll be right back.
There's a new app that you can grab where you're able to gamify and beautify your daily walk. We gave him a couple days off, but we can't go without him. Rick Damigella with the story.
We all know exercise is important, but Nintendo's tiny plant-like creatures known as Pikmin are here to make it more fun. Pikmin Bloom is the latest augmented reality exercise game from the creators of Pokemon Go.
Pikmin Bloom is what we think of as a lifestyle application. It's a companion for you as you go outside and walk and explore the world. You will have some amazingly cute and slightly mischievous Pikmin that go with you on your daily walks. And we think make it a lot more fun just to be out and be in the world and be active. It really comes alive when you're out walking. And as you walk in the world, you're helping your Pikmin grow and level up in the game, but they're also helping you plant flowers in the world.
Planting virtual flowers in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Pikmin Bloom, free to play from Apple's App Store and Google Play with optional in-game purchases. Saturday marks the game's first Community Day event where players can earn special items for playing. If you're out and about Saturday, it's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be gorgeous today as well. But one thing, if you do have Friday night plans, need you to bundle up. 43 is where we stand in Joplin. We're not going to see much of a warm-up despite the fact that we've got beautiful sun shining everywhere. 39 is as low as we get in Yates Center and Iola. Let's roll 42s in Lamar and Carthage. Miami chiming in at 45. Wind has been shifting consistently, now working in from the northwest as much as 14 and 10 miles an hour in Independence. Now, we look at Grove, Joplin, and Nevada, and those numbers will increase as we work throughout the course of our day, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting all the way up to 20 miles per hour. All the rain that we had overnight, now down to the southeast. No worries for us. If we throw on our cloud coverage there, starting to clear off here for the north and central portions of the 4 states. Still got some heavy cloud cover hanging down to the south. But eventually everything drops to the southeast. Just watch it follow the arrows there of the jet stream. And so a whole bunch of sunshine here later on. But it doesn't do anything to warm us up. In fact, let's talk about overnights because that's where it gets a little particular. While we stay on the dry side, I do want to point out we are going to fall below the freezing mark. And so we have freeze watches for our counties indicated in purple. Now, while that's, maybe 10% of our highlighted counties, no matter where you are, it is going to be cold. High school football in particular. Don't care if you're making the 3.5-hour trip on the other side of Manhattan or whether you're headed out to West Plains, Missouri. I'm telling you right now, your wind chills are going to be in the lower 30s, upper 20s by the time you are done with the game. Weekend looking great. Sunny skies up into the 50s. And look at that little warm trend that we get for next week. We'll be back. Wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. A Texas A&M senior who was critically injured at the Astroworld Festival has died. 22-year-old Barty Shahani became the 9th person to die after crowds rushed the stage Friday night as headliner Travis Scott performed in Houston. In Wisconsin, Kyle Rittenhouse's criminal trial could be coming closer to a verdict. The defense and prosecution wrapped up its cases yesterday, and closing arguments are expected to begin on Monday. Rittenhouse is charged in the shootings of 3 men, 2 of whom died at a police shooting protest last year. Federal appeals court temporarily blocked the release of White House records. A House committee wants as part of its investigation into the January 6th insurrection. The move, for now, grants a request from former President Trump. He's making efforts to withhold documents from the probe, claiming executive privilege. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Not a whole lot of movement as far as the sunshine and what it's going to do to the mercury. So we'll be stuck in the mid to high 40s today. Remember, overnight, just bundle up. Take care of your pets as well, because we are going to drop below the freezing point, and the wind chill is going to play a large role with our northwest wind gusting at 25 miles per hour. Freeze watches for counties in purple, doesn't matter where you live, is going to be a tad bit frigid. Nice weekend though, sunny skies up into the 50s.
Some animals do like the cold weather.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, a giant panda, for one, frolicked excitedly in thick snow at its zoo exhibit in Anshan City of northeast China's in the Liaoning
Okay, you
province.
win. It's cute.
Yeah, it's so cute, yes. Oh, the city was recently hit by a round of heavy snowfall that lasted from November 6th through Tuesday. Snow created a natural winter wonderland for the 4-year-old panda.
Okay, so I was thinking like it's cold, no snow, and then I saw that and I'm like, no, you win, it's cute. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. Back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
During the Black Friday Super